I felt compelled to do an update on my Michael Tait video. In that one, I described the allegations against him and his sudden departure from the Newsboys and gave a few what I thought were faith based thoughts on the matter. However, I am compelled to sadly announce that Michael Tait has confessed. Hi everyone, my name is Jake Avery. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell to get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. You can also head on over to my website, studiojakemedia.substack.com, where you can read even more articles on pop culture, including some on religious and faith topics. You can either read most of them for free, or you can subscribe and unlock different tiers with different perks. Yes, I am sad to announce that Michael Tait did in fact confess, not to the criminal allegations, but to the fact that he was leading a double life. I'm paraphrasing here, but in his confession, he basically admitted to having a drug and alcohol problem, and that is why he left the Newsboys. He said it just got completely out of control, and he did engage in some inappropriate behavior with some men, and he went into rehab as a result of this. He said he has gotten out of rehab and he's going to try to rebuild his life. Now, in his confession, he did not admit to anything criminal, just that he had a major moral failing. And like I said, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. If you want to read his whole confession, he posted it on his social media. I'll let you do that for yourself because I don't want this channel to get demonetized because of Michael Tait. He does, in fact, go into a lot of detail. Now, I will give him credit for that at least. He didn't try to hide, he didn't try to blame other people, he took full responsibility. However, this is a major moral failing from someone who is considered a giant among the Christian music industry. For myself, dcTalk really shaped how I became a Christian, how I saw things, how I worked through things. I can still remember lyrics from their songs like Free at Last and Jesus Freak and a whole host of others. One of my favorite songs was their cover of Want to Be in the Light. It's a very fantastic song that's on their Jesus Freak. Now, the question on everyone's mind is, did Toby Mac and the Newsboys know? Here are my personal opinions about that matter. This is on Michael Tait. Now, it does matter if he was doing something criminal and they knew about that. But if they thought he had some moral failings and they just wanted to keep him working to keep him out of it, then that's something totally different. Now, if it did happen in their presence or right in front of them, then yes, they should have done something about it and they should have fired him. However, again, I want to give my own personal opinion. So, no legal advice, not a lawyer. I think Toby Mac knew something was going on with Tait in the days of dcTalk because I watched a very interesting interview with him. This was a long time ago where he was saying, we broke up because we all had little nuggets of solo albums. His came out right away. His Toby Mac solo album released almost immediately. Tait and Kevin Mac has his own personal history. He's got his own issues. When it comes to Tait specifically, I do think Toby Mac knew some things. I think, though, that his thinking was he was helping them. He was helping his friends. Because remember, they were together since college. He was helping his friends by keeping them apart, letting them continue to do the work, but then it got to a point where he just couldn't help them anymore. Do I think Toby Mac has skeletons in his closet? Not at all. I don't. I have no reason to believe that. I've heard nothing about it. I think that he is broken, seeing his friends fall apart, one falling away from the faith, one falling into moral abhorrent behavior, and also the tragic loss of his son to addiction. So I'm going to give Toby Mac a little bit of breathing room here. Now, again, if there are criminal activity and Toby Mac knew about that, then yeah, he should have come forward. Otherwise, I don't hold him accountable. Same goes for the Newsboys. In their case, I think that they might have been willfully ignorant, so they just ignored it until they couldn't ignore it anymore. Because don't forget, they fired John James over a moral failing very quickly. He was gone, and then suddenly Peter Furler was the lead singer. So I don't think necessarily that they knew about it, because I think if they had, they would have done what they did to John James. So I am of the opinion that maybe they just stayed willfully ignorant. And again, if they knew about the criminal activities, then they should be held accountable for that. And no, I don't blame them for not exposing him. They're friends. They let him have his privacy. Maybe they held him accountable in a private way, because don't forget, he did get fired. He did leave, and he did go to a rehab center, or at least he claims that he did. As for you and me, what does this mean? We have to remember, especially those of us who grew up in the peak of 90s Christian music, when they were just starting to get into other genres of music like country, like rock, like rap. That was relatively new in the 90s, or I should say that's when it exploded. Other Christian writers and singers have tried to get into that way earlier in the 80s and 70s, but they were always slapped down by the Pharisee leadership in the American church in particular. But 90s is when it really exploded. We saw techno, we saw pop rock, we saw just bubblegum pop come out of the Christian dynamic. And also that led into the explosion of worship music. That's where we got some great worship bands. And those of us in the 90s in particular, this hits us hard because Tait was always there. He was there as a member of dcTalk. He was there as a lead singer of a band called Tait. He was there for his solo albums. He was there for a play called Hero, which was kind of a modern take on the Gospels. And he was there to take over the Newsboys when Peter Furler stepped aside to become a worship pastor. So all of these twisted and roller coaster like emotions that you are feeling right now, I mean, if you were a Christian who grew up in the 90s, I'm right there with you. I am there. I've been to the concerts, I've sang the songs, I've bought the CDs. I understand. But we have to remember, yes, we should separate the art from the artist in this case. That doesn't mean if you still have your old dcTalk CDs, or even your Tait solo album, or even the most recent Newsboys albums, that you should go out and burn them all. Don't do that. That's what secular people do. We should be able to say, hey, listen, this guy, however flawed he may be, did impact my walk with Christ, and so I'm going to keep this. It doesn't make those things tainted necessarily. What that does mean is, going forward, we need to keep a closer eye on things. We need to look at things with more scrutiny. Now, after all I said that about not burning your CDs and your concert videos and your shirts and your hats and all that, does that mean Tait gets a free pass? Absolutely not. Going forward, we should see him as he is, a flawed man. Just remember this. We tend to think, because of our modern culture, certainly cessationists have really done this, and as well as my own charismatic movement that I was a part of, we want to lift these singers up like there's some sort of moral authority when they're just singers and songwriters. We shouldn't look to them for theological guides. We should be turning to our pastors, to actual theologians, and most importantly, we should be turning to the Bible. So we need to stop this sort of celebrity pastor thing that we put on these Christian bands. They don't deserve it. Now, some of them seek it out, but they don't deserve it. We should judge every single thing. Tait does not get a free pass. We should pray for him that the Holy Spirit convicts his soul, that he continues his path of restoration, and go forward from there. Now, I'm going to read from 1 Timothy, because Paul gives Timothy some good advice that we can use for ourselves. I'm reading 1 Timothy chapter 6, starting at verse 17, ending at verse 21 from the ESV Bible. As for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life. O Timothy, guard the deposit entrusted to you, avoid irreverent babble and contradictions of what is falsely called knowledge, for by professing it some have swerved from the faith. Grace be with you. And I charge you that beware of these people who claim they have knowledge because they're good singers or good songwriters or whatever the case may be. We need to turn to other people who are in higher authority, and most importantly, we need to turn to Christ. Christ is our salvation. He is the only way to heaven. And yes, what's going on with Michael Tait, it is sad, it is heartbreaking, but we still have Christ. Do not let this incident disturb you or discourage you from the faith, but let it be a reminder that we should look to Christ. We should look to the Gospels. We should look to the Bible. We should look to Jesus Christ for salvation, not from some singer. We should not uplift them. We should always hold them accountable as well to the gospel. All turn to Christ, who's knocking on the doors of our hearts. So I hope that this brought you some peace. And yes, like I said, it's awful. It gives you a sick feeling to hear that Michael Tait confessed to a ton of abhorrent moral behavior. But just remember that he is not a representation of the church in the sense that it should destroy your faith in the gospel. Yes, he let us down. Yes, he was a bad witness, but we should forgive him. We should pray for him, and we will hope that he will listen to the Holy Spirit guide him back to God. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, tell what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. Don't forget to head on over to my website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. You can read most of my articles for free, or you can subscribe and unlock various tiers with all kinds of perks. So definitely do that. It's a great way to support me and the work that I do. Another way to help me, if you'd like, is to go to the conveniently titled Buy My Book section of the aforementioned website. You can find links where you can buy all 4 of my novels, and best of all, they're all on Amazon. So get one or all 4, leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.
'Cause I've been living life right like I